مساء النور، أهلا وسهلا، ما عليك.
كيفك
أهلا
أخي
معالي
محمد؟
الوزير.
شو أخبارك؟
الله يبارك فيك، طول عمرك.
يعطيك العافية ومشكور على هالمبادرة الطيبة.
الله يعافيك، طول عمرك.
تحياتي لك وللإخوان والأخوات جميعا.
تسلم، الله يحفظك.
أهلا وسهلا. أهلا وسهلا.
يا أهلا وسهلا.
نبدأ برنامجنا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي المشرف العام على الإعلام الرسمي في دولة فلسطين الوزير أحمد عساف، سعادة المدير العام المكلف لاتحاد وكالات أنباء دول منظمة التعاون الإسلامي الأستاذ محمد بن عبد رب اليامي، أصحاب السعادة الحضور، الزملاء الإعلاميين، يطيب لنا أن نرحب بكم في هذه الدورة التدريبية المكثفة التي تتطرق إلى موضوع مهم، لا سيما في ظل الأحداث الجارية حاليا في فلسطين وما تمثله هذه الأحداث من تحديات للصحفيين، سواء على المستوى المهني أو على مستوى السلامة الشخصية. وكما تعلمون، يعقد هذا البرنامج التدريبي في إطار التعاون المثمر والفعال بين اتحاد وكالات أنباء دول منظمة التعاون الإسلامي ووكالة فيوري لإخبار الفيديو، وبإشراف وحضور معالي الوزير أحمد عساف. ونفيدكم بوجود ترجمة فورية باللغات العربية والإنجليزية والفرنسية والروسية، آملين الاستفادة من الترجمة من خلال الضغط على خيار الترجمة أسفل الشاشة. ستقدم البرنامج الأستاذة أني بيريكوفا، الخبيرة والمستشارة في مجموعة الرؤية الاستراتيجية روسيا العالم الإسلامي، فلتتفضل مشكورة. أنا بليز. The floor is yours.
Shukran. Thank you very much. And I will continue in English. If there are any problem with my channel, please let me know. But I hope there are no problem with interpretation. As soon as the majority of our speakers will speak in English, I will do it as well. First of all, I want to thank Yuna, and I want to thank His Excellency Minister Ahmed Assaf for being today with us, as well as a special thanks are I want to say to Mr. Mohammed Al-Yami, the Director General of Yuna. It's really a special honor for us to be already not for the first time on this really important meeting, which is actually called a masterclass or intensive training. Whatever it is really something unique that is done for the first time with Viry, but not for the first time with those panelists who are we meeting today. And the topic today is quite important and very actual. It's about actually verification and news gathering in war zone. And actually Palestine is taken as a case study in this situation. And definitely journalism in war zones presents a significant challenge for journalists, especially when it comes to the current war in Gaza. So the masterclass, which is called Challenges in Verifications and News Gathering in a War Zone and Palestine as a Case Study, is organized by Union of OIC News Agencies, UNA, and the video news agency Viry. And it is organized for the benefit of journalists from the OIC member states countries. The main aim of the masterclass is to delve into Viry News Agency comprehensive coverage of the Gaza war, addressing challenges faced for news gathering and verification of footage in a war zone. It will also showcase how swift response times and exclusive content generations remain key to delivering impactful content that resonates with audiences, even when covering emotionally charged and often difficult issues that come from conflict. And let me send me special thanks to our dear organizers, to the UNA team, Mr. Ashraf and Mr. Zubair, because they really did tremendous job for that. And before we start, I will give a small introduction of what we are going to have during our session today. First of all, we will have a very special opening remark from His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Assaf. After that, we will have welcoming speech from Mr. Mohammed Al-Yami. After that, we will have a field intervention from our field correspondents from Palestine. And after that, we will start our main part, our panel, our seminar, or our masterclass, how we call it. And now let me start from giving the panel to His Excellency, the General Supervisor of the official media in the State of Palestine, His Excellency Mr. Ahmed Assaf.
أشكرك بشكل شخصي وأشكر وكالة فيوري، كما أتقدم بالشكر لاتحاد وكالات أنباء دول منظمة التعاون الإسلامي، وعلى رأسها الأخ والصديق الأستاذ محمد اليامي وكافة الطاقم الإداري والعاملين معه على تنظيم هذه الدورة. الصوت مسموع؟
نعم مسموع.
تمام. الحقيقة يعني اختيار هذا الموضوع تحديدا واختيار عنوان لهذه الدورة في هذا التوقيت شيء مهم جدا، وخصوصا في ظل هذا العدوان الإسرائيلي على الشعب الفلسطيني، تحديدا بحق أهلنا في قطاع غزة. هذه الحرب حرب الإبادة الجماعية التي لم تستثني أحدا، والتي طالت كل أبناء شعبنا الفلسطيني بكل فئاته وتحديدا الصحفيين. منذ بدء العدوان الإسرائيلي الأخير على شعبنا في قطاع غزة قبل أقل من 5 أشهر ولغاية اليوم، أكثر من 120 صحفي فلسطيني تم قتلهم بشكل مباشر. وهذا الاستهداف إحنا بنعتبره هو لمحاربة الحقيقة، لرغبة إسرائيل بعدم إظهار الحقيقة، لمحاولة طمس الحقيقة، لمحاولة ارتكاب كل هذه الجرائم بصمت، وأيضا لمحاولة إرهاب الصحفيين الآخرين الذين لم يتم استهدافهم لغاية الآن، لعدم القيام بواجبهم الصحفي وفق ما تقتضيهم المصلحة الوطنية والمهنية لهذه المهنة النبيلة. إحنا بالإعلام الرسمي الفلسطيني قدمنا 11 شهيد، وللأسف جزء كبير منهم تم استهدافهم مع عائلاتهم. أكثر من 100 شهيد ما بين الصحفيين العاملين في الإعلام الرسمي وعائلاتهم. أحد أهم هؤلاء الصحفيين الشهيد محمد أبو حطب، الذي تم استهدافه بشكل مباشر وتم قصف بيته بشكل محدد من أجل محاولة إسكاته، لأنه تميز لدينا في إيصال رسالة أهلنا ومعاناتهم وحجم الجرائم التي ارتكبت في قطاع غزة. وبالتالي كان في استهداف مباشر للصحفي الفلسطيني بهدف منعه من القيام بعمله، من القيام بواجبه، من إيصال رسالته، هذه الرسالة المقدسة إلى كل مكان في العالم. الحقيقة إنه هذا الاستهداف الكبير لهذه الفئة الهامة اللي المفروض إنه في قوانين دولية بتحمي عملها، ولكن إسرائيل تتعامل كدولة فوق القانون. إسرائيل لم تحاسب على كل هذه الجرائم التي ارتكبتها بحق الصحفيين والمؤسسات الصحفية. ومن المهم هنا أن أقول لكم أن هذا الاستهداف لم يبدأ منذ 7 أكتوبر اللي هو قبل 5 شهور من الآن. المقر الرئيسي لهيئة الإذاعة والتلفزيون الفلسطينية اللي أنا برأسها الآن في رام الله دمر قبل أكثر من 20 عاما بالطائرات والدبابات. تم قصفه وتم الدخول إليه وتفجيره بشكل متعمد ومباشر، وكأنه مقر أمني، وهو معروف للعالم أجمع بأنه مقر لهيئة الإذاعة والتلفزيون. أبراج البث الخاصة بنا وتحديدا في إذاعة صوت فلسطين، وللعلم هذه الأبراج تاريخية لإذاعة هنا القدس التي عمرها يتجاوز 100 عام، وهي ثاني إذاعة في الشرق الأوسط بعد إذاعة القاهرة. وهذه الأبراج عمرها، ويعني إذا بدنا نتحدث بصراحة، أكبر من عمر دولة الاحتلال بعشرات السنوات. قامت إسرائيل بتفجيرها وتدميرها بشكل مباشر. سيارات البث الخاصة بنا، اعتقال عشرات الصحفيين، إطلاق الرصاص وجرح العشرات، إغلاق مكتبنا في القدس الآن للسنة ال5 على التوالي، منع صحفيين من التنقل ومعاقبتهم، واعتقال طواقمنا وآخرها قبل يومين في أريحة منذ الصباح ولغاية المساء، لأنهم راحوا يغطوا تقرير عن منطقة استيطانية، وكل الاستيطان غير شرعي، وهذه المستوطنة كانت أيضا غير شرعية. وبالتالي ترتكب بحق الصحفي الفلسطيني أبشع أشكال الجرائم. وزي ما حكيت كله لثني الصحفي عن القيام بواجبه. بالرغم من حجم هذه الجرائم، بالرغم من هذا الثمن الكبير والباهظ الذي دفعناه، ولكن الحقيقة نجح الصحفي الفلسطيني بالرغم من عمله. وهذا له علاقة مهم في عنوان الدورة، إنه التحديات اللي بتواجهه في جمع الأخبار أثناء الحروب، وغزة الآن نموذج واقعي، أن يوصل رسالة غزة ورسالة فلسطين ورسالة الضفة والقدس إلى كل مكان في العالم. بمعنى أنه في بداية العدوان في الأسبوع الأول نجحت إسرائيل بالهيمنة عبر علاقاتها وسيطرتها على بعض وسائل الإعلام الكبرى بتثبيت روايتها. ولكن عندما أخذ الصحفي الفلسطيني المبادرة وبدأ ببث الأخبار والعدوان على شعبنا وقتل الأطفال والنساء اللي وصل إلى عشرات الآلاف لغاية الآن، نجحنا بإيصال هذه الصورة وهذا الصوت إلى كل مكان في العالم. فأنا بالأمس كان في عندنا وقفة ليوم عالمي للتضامن مع الصحفي الفلسطيني، وقلت هذا الكلام أمام مئات الصحفيين الفلسطينيين. قلت لهم ما تحزنوا، وصحيح أنه الثمن كبير والفاتورة باهظة ودفعناها بالدم، ولكن أيضا الحقيقة أنه النتائج بالنسبة لنا إحنا راضين عنها. عندما نقوم بواجبنا المهني والوطني والأخلاقي ونقوم بفضح جرائم هذا الاحتلال الإسرائيلي وإيصالها إلى كل مكان في العالم، ونعتقد أن اليوم رسالة الشعب الفلسطيني وصلت عبر هؤلاء الصحفيين. وبرضو عشان أكون موضوعي، مش كلهم فلسطينيين، الحقيقة في عنا عشرات ومئات الصحفيين العرب والمسلمين والأجانب اللي بيشتغلوا بفلسطين وبغطوا الأخبار بطريقة محترمة، أيضا ساهموا بنقل وإيصال الرواية الفلسطينية، وبالمناسبة لم يسلموا من الاعتداءات والجرائم. إذن التحديات اللي بتواجهنا تحديات كبيرة جدا. الظروف التي يعمل بها الصحفي الفلسطيني ظروف معقدة وصعبة، وقد تكون منفردة في العالم. لا يوجد دولة بالعالم يتم استهداف الصحفي بشكل مباشر إلا عنا في فلسطين من قبل هذا الاحتلال الإسرائيلي، كما جرى مع الشهيدة شيرين أبو عاقلة اللي كانت بالمناسبة أحد أفراد هذه المؤسسة، مؤسسة الهيئة العامة للإذاعة والتلفزيون الفلسطينية، كانت تعمل لدينا قبل انتقالها إلى شبكة الجزيرة. استهدافها بشكل مباشر، وإسرائيل تعلم أنها فوق القانون وتعلم أنها ستنجو من أي حساب، من أجل ذلك تستمر بارتكاب جرائمها. من أجل ذلك بالأمس كان في يوم عالمي للتضامن مع الصحفي الفلسطيني عنوانه أوقفوا القتل بحق هذا الصحفي. الصحفي الفلسطيني ليس مجرما وليس مدانا وما عنده أي تهمة إلا أنه بمارس بهذه المهنة المقدسة. إذا بدي أركز على موضوع التحديات أخي محمد، الحضور الجميع، أولا تحدي الاحتلال الإسرائيلي وإجرامه بشكل مباشر واستهدافه للصحفيين بالقتل والجرح والاعتقال، منعه من التحرك، منعه من الوصول إلى أماكن الاشتباك، منعه من التنقل سواء في غزة أو بالضفة، منعه من الدخول إلى داخل المحتل في إسرائيل، إغلاق مكاتبنا في القدس. كل هذه حقيقة تحديات بتواجه الصحفي الفلسطيني. وبالعكس إسرائيل يعني لم تكتفي بكل هذا الشيء، بل سعت إلى تشويه صورة الصحفي الفلسطيني من خلال إلصاق بعض التهم. عندما تم اغتيال الشهيد محمد أبو حطب وهو أحد أهم مراسلين تلفزيون فلسطين، إيش كتب الإعلام الإسرائيلي عن هذا الموضوع؟ إنه تم قتل أكبر إرهابي فلسطيني يتنكر بزي صحفي. تخيلوا هالجريمة المضاعفة. لم يكتفوا بقتله، بل كتبوا بإعلامهم إنه هذا إرهابي يتنكر بزي صحفي. طبعا كان لابس الفيست المتعلقة بطبيعة عمله الصحفي والخوذة وكل شيء، وهذا لم يحميه من القتل، كما كانت الشهيدة شيرين أبو عاقلة ومئات الصحفيين الآخرين. يعني لم يكتفوا بقتله، أيضا أجوا يبرروا هذا القتل بأنه هذا إرهابي متنكر بزي صحفي. وبالتالي تحديات كبيرة، صعوبات كبيرة، ولكن الإصرار أكبر والمعنويات أكبر، وحجم التحدي والإرادة اللي موجودة عند الصحفي الفلسطيني أكبر من أن تؤثر في كل هذه الجرائم الإسرائيلية. عشان هيك أنتم شايفين هذا التدفق الكبير للأخبار الواردة من غزة، ومن الضفة ومن كل مكان. وهذا عهدنا لكم، وعهدنا لشعبنا، وعهدنا لشهدائنا اللي جددنا العهد معهم بالأمس، إنه مش رح نخذلهم، رح نستمر بالسير على هذه الدرب رغم صعوبتها ورغم خطورتها، من أجل أن نقوم بإيصال صورتنا. وبندعو حقيقة في هذه المناسبة كل المؤسسات الإعلامية الدولية أن تعلي صوتها من أجل فضح هذه الجرائم، ومن أجل معاقبة هؤلاء المجرمين بحق هؤلاء الصحفيين الفلسطينيين، ومن أجل السماح لهذا الصحفي أن يعمل كأي مكان في العالم وهو آمن على روحه وآمن على حياته وعلى أطفاله وعلى بيته، اللي للأسف أصبح مهدد كل من له علاقة بهذا الصحفي في الأراضي الفلسطينية. بجدد شكري لاتحاد وكالات أنباء دول منظمة التعاون الإسلامي، لأخونا محمد، لوكالة أنباء فيوري، ولكافة الحضور. وبتأمل أنه هذه الدورة يعني تطلع بنتائج مهمة، وأنا بكون سعيد للاطلاع عليها والاستماع لها وتعميمها على كل الصحفيين الفلسطينيين من أجل الاستفادة من خبراتكم. وشكرا جزيلا لكم.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and it's really important, as you said, not only just know about the pain, and it's really very emotional and difficult, and I really don't know how journalists really survive in this area. But it's also important to be professional, as you said, and also you used a very proper Arabic word, which is the word muhtaram. In Arabic, it means respectful. Respectful, it means in Arabic professional, and as at the same time respectful to the audience that you work with, and respectful to the facts that you're working with, and respectful to the verification of this fact. So that's why I'm very thankful for this field, for this field in Zoom, which was actually organized by UNA initially with the help of Viry. And I think it's a special field which we can open and use in the future for making our job more respectful, as we say in Arabic, muhtaram. It means professional, verified, and qualified. And I am very happy to give a panel to the Director General of UNA, so, His Excellency Mohammed Abdelrab Al-Yami, who is Acting Director General of UNA and main organizer of this event. Please, Mr. Mohammed.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، وبعد. معالي المشرف العام على الإعلام الرسمي في دولة فلسطين الوزير أحمد عساف، أصحاب السعادة، الزملاء الإعلاميين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني أن أرحب بكم في مستهل هذه الدورة التدريبية التي نسعى من خلالها إلى التعرف عن كثب على التحديات المتعلقة بجمع الأخبار والتحقق منها خلال أوقات النزاع، متخذين من فلسطين نموذجا ومستعينين بالخبرة المميزة لوكالة فايري في هذا المجال. وتأتي هذه الدورة في إطار جهود الاتحاد لتسليط الضوء على المصاعب التي يمر بها الصحفيون بشكل عام والصحفيون الفلسطينيون بشكل خاص أثناء أدائهم ولواجبهم المهني في ظل الظروف التي فرضها الاحتلال الإسرائيلي وحربه المستمرة على قطاع غزة. كما تأتي أيضا ضمن مساعي الاتحاد لمواجهة التضليل الإعلامي وتزويد الصحفيين بالمهارات اللازمة للتعرف على المحتوى المزيف ومكافحة انتشاره. وقد أطلق الاتحاد في هذا الصدد منصة خاصة بمكافحة التضليل الإعلامي، لا سيما في الأخبار المتعلقة بالشأن الفلسطيني. وفي الختام اسمحوا لي أن أقدم لكم في هذا المقام تحية جلال وإكبار لتضحيات الصحفيين الفلسطينيين وجهودهم لنقل الحقيقة، حيث احتفينا أمس باليوم العالمي للتضامن معهم. كما لا يفوتني في هذا المقام التعبير عن خالص الامتنان لشريكنا وكالة فايري على حرصها على مشاركة خبراتها مع وكالة الأنباء في دولة منظمة التعاون الإسلامي، وبالله التوفيق. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you for your words, for your greetings, and thank you for really great support to Palestine and journalism in Palestine. I do remember how really tremendously you organized an event in November in Jeddah, And this event was really very special for all of us, for those people who do really support and care about journalists in Gaza and journalists who work in Palestine in general. And I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker, who is actually with us from the field. And it's our colleague, dear journalist, Mr. Sami Abu Salim. Mr. Salim, أنت معانا? Are you with us? Mr. Sami? Yeah, I think he was with us. And yes.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes. اتفضل، ممكن تتكلم بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي. You can speak in English or Arabic. It's okay. Mr. Sami, I have a proposal. Maybe you can turn off the video and just leave the sound. So when you have the sound, maybe the connection will be better. ممكن تقفل الصوت. Sorry, تقفل الفيديو.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, Mr. Sami. Just as soon as the connection is not very well, we just wanted to ask you what is important for the person who is working in the field. What is important for you, especially in the verification of information, because it's, I think, the most important thing when you get the information for the first time.
Okay, thank you. If the audience is most of them Arabs, I would like to speak in Arabic.
تفضل ممكن تتكلم بالعربي. تفضل.
اوكي، شكرا جزيلا. انا اسمي سامي ابو سالم، مراسل وكالة الانباء الفلسطينية وفا. اتحدث اليكم الان من مدينة رفح المهددة بالاجتياح. مدينة رفح في اقصى جنوب قطاع غزة. اتحدث من الشارع، من الميدان. هذه المدينة يعني أنا أقول أنها مهددة بالاجتياح، هو إشارة لإحدى النقاط التي يعاني منها الصحفيون. صحيح سأركز على موضوع الفيريفيكيشن، ولكن عندما أقول مهددة بمعنى أن الصحفي غير قادر على الاستقرار. ليس هناك استقرار. أنا أقطن في جباليا في شمال غزة، وأبعد عن رفح حوالي 35 كيلو. نزحت 7 مرات. في كل مرة أنزح فيها هناك يعني مشكلة في التنقل، مشكلة في الإنترنت، مشكلة في الكهرباء وما إلى ذلك، ومشكلة في المواصلات، وكل هذه أمور لوجستية لها علاقة بالفيريفيكيشن، في التحقق. كي لا أطيل كثيرا، نحن في وكالة الأنباء وفاء نشدد على الدقة. حتى أعداد وأرقام وأسماء الشهداء نعتمد فقط ما يصدر عن المصادر الصحية، عن وزارة الصحة، كي نكون دقيقين. الدقة أهم شيء لدي. فهناك بعض الأخبار تتوالى لي كصحفي أعرف بها، ولكن لا أستطيع أن أرسلها إلى وكالة وفاء لأنها غير مؤكدة بالنسبة لأعداد شهداء، أعداد جرحى، غير مؤكدة من وزارة الصحة. وأحيانا يكون البيان صدر عن وزارة الصحة لكن لم يصلني أنا كصحفي في الميدان. أنا أكون في المستشفى وأرى شهداء بعيني وأرى جرحى بعيني، أبلغ أن هناك شهداء وجرحى، ولكن لا أعطي رقم، لأن الأرقام بيد وزارة الصحة، هي التي تحصي، والأسماء أيضا. بمعنى أن تخيل أنني أكون في المستشفى وعند المسجلين، ولكن بهدف الدقة أنتظر قليلا حتى يصدر بيان من المستشفى أو من الوزارة. الآن بجانب الأخبار هناك في قصص صحفية، وهناك أخبار كثيرة تتناول لكن هل نستطيع أنشرها؟ لا. مثال على ذلك، بالأمس أنا رأيت مواطن، بلغني خبر، أول أمس بلغني خبر أن هناك مواطنين من شمال غزة. أنا يا زملائي الأعزاء أذكر أمثلة عملية، لأن الأمثلة أبعد فيها عن الكلام الإنشائي وأبعد فيها عن الكلام النظري. فكتبت قصة عن الجوعى، الناس التي تجوع في شمال غزة، الذين أكلوا أكل الحيوانات، علف الحيوانات، وأكلوا انتهى الطحين، وبالتالي أكلوا الأعشاب، أعشاب برية، ولكن هذه الأعشاب لن تدوم. ولكن بالتأكيد أنا كنت على تواصل مع البعض، والتواصل صعب، وأرسلوا لي مقاطع صوتية بصوتهم وأنا أعرفهم، لذلك كتبت، مع أن هناك غيري كتب قبلي، ولكن أنا انتظرت إلى أن التقطت إشارة، وانتظرت إلى أن تأكدت من المرسل، شهود عيان، ناس، شخص نفسه، وقال كيف يطحن الطحين، وكيف يأكل الأعشاب، وكيف يأكل علف الحيوانات. هو قال لي، ولم أسمع أنا من غيره، مع أن هناك من سبقني وكتب هذه القصة قبلي. لا يهم أن أكون الأول، المهم أن أكون دقيقا. فانتظرت منهم وأرسلوا لي، وكتبت القصة لوكالة وفاء. هؤلاء الناس أنفسهم البعض منهم رفض أن يغادر شمال غزة لأسباب وطنية أو لأسباب خاصة. هناك الكثير من كبار السن رفضوا الهجرة. أنا أوضح بعض الأمور بالمناسبة. رفضوا الانتقال من شمال غزة إلى جنوب غزة، اعتقدوا أن هذه نكبة جديدة ولن يعودوا. وبما أن الكبار رفضوا، فبقيت باقي العائلة معهم. الشباب رفضوا أن يتركوا. الآن هم يغادروا من شمال غزة إلى جنوب غزة مشيا على الأقدام، هربا من الجوع، يهربون خوفا من الموت جوعا. فمن لم يمت بالقذف مات بالجوع. وهم مغادرون، هذا مثال على الفيريفيكيشن، وهم مغادرون تعرضوا للقذف. كانوا يمشوا بجانب الطريق الساحلي وتعرضوا للقذف وإطلاق النار من جنود الاحتلال ومن الزوارق الحربية، وقتل عدد منهم أو استشهد عدد. رأيت صورة لشاب يحمل كيسا، وهذا الكيس لا أعرف أنا ماذا فيه، ولكن الفيديو قال أن هذا الشاب يحمل كيسا فيه أشلاء أخيه. كانوا مع بعضهم البعض يغادرون من الشمال إلى الجنوب يحمل أشلاء أخيه، ولكن لم أنشرها أنا. لماذا؟ لأنني لم أقم بالفيريفيكيشن، لم أقم بالتأكد، من معلومة غير مؤكدة. هو صحيح ممكن في الكيس أشياء أخرى، ممكن طعام. أنا أؤمن أن أقول أني أنا رأيت قصة سابقة ومواضيع سابقة، طفل يحمل أشلاء أخي في شنطة المدرسة، وفي مستشفى المعمداني رجل يحمل أشلاء أطفاله في أكياس كي يدفنهم. رأيت، وبالتالي أنا غير مستغرب أن يكون هذا يحمل في الكيس أشلاء أخيه. ولكن لا، عندما أتحدث مع الشخص نفسه أو شاهد عيان، فأنا لم أتحدث مع الشخص ولم أتحدث مع شاهد عيان، وبالتالي يجب أن أتأكد. كيف أتأكد؟ هنا مربط الفرس، حجر الزاوية. مشكلة اتصالات لدينا، ومش يريد مني أن هناك أدوات للتنقل. أنا أتحدث عن أشياء عملية. هناك أدوات للتنقل. يجب أولا أن أنا شخصيا أنزل إلى الميدان وأرى بعيني وعاين بعيني، أو أتحدث إلى شهود عيان في الميدان، أو إلى شخص حصلت مع الحادثة، أو على الأقل شهود عيان. هذا لم يتوفر لي، وبالتالي لم أنشر القصة. لماذا؟ بسبب مشاكل الاتصالات. الآن الاتصالات أحيانا يقطعها الاحتلال الإسرائيلي عمدا لأيام، وأحيانا لا يقطعها، ولكن تكون معطلة بسبب القصف العشوائي في مربع كبير جدا ليس فيها اتصالات. وبالتالي كيف أنا سأطلع؟ في هناك بعض الحالات كنت أتوجه بعيني وأذهب وأعاين كي أتأكد من المعلومة قبل النشر. لا نريد خطأ واحدا، لأن ربما خطأ واحدا ينسف كل القصص السابقة وينسف كل الرواية السابقة. لا نريد خطأ واحدا. فأنا لم أنشر هذه القصة رغم قوتها وأهميتها، بمعنى أن الاحتلال وتعطل الاتصالات والإنترنت هذا السبب في عدم نشر قصص آلاف القصص. هذا أيضا أسرى، وأيضا قصص الحوامل، قصص الأطفال، قصص الجوع، قصص التنقل، في قصص لم تغطى. وبالتالي الأسلوب عقبات مثلا التنقل. مثال أمس مساء كان هناك في قصف ليس بعيد عن
عفوا للمقاطعة أستاذ سامي، لكن نرجو الاختصار لأنه في أيضا مداخلة أخرى سنأخذها. نرجو الاختصار أستاذ سامي وشكرا.
سمحنا أستاذ سامي. I think we really have to make a special session just to talk to our journalists and to receive all this information from them, because I can even see that our panelists whom I will introduce later, Zoe and Marie, they are even just writing some things down because it's quite important for them, even this horrible things, but they should be also something that Mr. Sami said should be verified and should be really put into the desk of investigation, even though it's sometimes really emotionally very difficult. And I wanted to give a microphone to our next speaker, also from Palestine.
لماذا أنا أتحدث من جانب مثال آخر؟ أنا الآن أتحدث من جانب المستشفى الكويتي التخصصي. لماذا أتحدث من هناك؟ لأننا كصحفيين نفتقر إلى دعم لوجستي بسبب الدمار الهائل الذي يسببه الاحتلال، فنأتي إلى المستشفى لأن المستشفى بها مولد كهرباء، وبالتالي نأتي هنا لشحن الهواتف. أنا أتحدث عن تفاصيل دقيقة ولكنها عصب العمل.
نعم.
نأتي لشحن الهواتف وشحن الباور بانك ونلتقط أي إشارة إنترنت، مع أن التقاط إشارة الإنترنت أيضا فيها خطر، والآن سأذكر أمثلة. بجانب مستشفى الكويت أو قريبا منه أنا استهدف بيت لعائلة الضابط، استهدف بيت وهناك شهداء وجرحى. أنا أبعد عن المستشفى حوالي ربما 2 كيلومتر، يعني ليس بعيدا بالمنطق، ليس بعيدة، ولكن عندما أريد أن أنتقل من البيت مساء بالمناسبة ليس هناك سيارات، ليس هناك تاكسي، أنا ليس لدي تاكسي خاص، أتصل بتاكسي، أريد أن أنتقل هناك لأرى ماذا حدث، ليس هناك اتصالات، ليس هناك اتصالات، الشبكة معدمة. سأتوجه مشيا، أنا مدرب سلامة مهنية، ونقول أن المشي خطر، الإكسبوز، يعني كلما تحركت أقل كلما كان أكثر أمنا، وبالتالي كان خطر أن أنتقل وأنتظر، مع أن المسافة ليست بعيدة، ولكن القصف مستمر هنا وهناك. أنا خفت ولم أجرؤ على الانتقال ومشاهدة ما يجري، مع أنها قريبة مني، وانتظرنا عبال إلى الصباح، يعني الساعات الأولى من الصباح أو ساعات متأخرة من الليل، كي نتأكد. لدي كان معلومات أن هناك 3 شهداء 4 شهداء، لكن العدد كان يزداد، ولكن تأكدنا فقط بعد إصدار بيان وزارة الصحة. الآن هذا القضية هنا ليست أن هناك 7 أو 8 شهداء فقط، 7 أو 8 شهداء، هذه قضية مهمة، ولكن ماذا خلفهم؟ من هؤلاء الشهداء؟ أطفال، هذه أم كانت مرضعة، هذا والد كان يرعى أطفاله. هذا البعد الإنساني نحن نفتقده الآن، لم نستطع آنذاك الحديث عنه. نقطة ثانية في الاتصالات، أحيانا نضطر من أجل التقاط إشارة، عندما يقطع الاحتلال الاتصالات نضطر لاستخدام الإيسم. هاي أحد الأدوات، الإيسم، ولكن هنا أؤكد على نقطة أو أشير إلى نقطة أنصح بها. الاسم لا تعمل دائما وتحتاج إلى أماكن مهمة، يعني يفترض أن يكون إلى منطقة مرتفعة، ولكن إذا أي شخص يقف على مكان مرتفع ربما يقتل. وهذا حصل قبل حوالي أسبوع. زملاء صحفيين في شمال غزة ذهبوا إلى منطقة مرتفعة اسمها تل الزعتر، وحملوا هواتفهم
المعذرة
التقاط إشارة.
أستاذ سامي المعذرة عن المقاطعة، لكن البرنامج يعني محدد بوقت معين.
تفضل.
البرنامج محدد ولدينا متحدثين آخرين نريد الانتقال إليهم، فلو اختصرت يعني في دقيقة يعني أستاذ سامي.
كم دقيقة لدي؟
دقيقة، بقيت لديك دقيقة واحدة.
أشكرك.
طيب.
أشكرك. دقيقة واحدة.
اختصر في دقيقة واحدة.
نؤكد التأكد قبل نشر أي شيء، ولكن هذا التأكد يريد دعم لوجستي من مواصلات، ووقود هذا غير موجود لدينا، فنضطر كثيرا إلى المشي، وأيضا الإرباك الذي يحصل في الإنترنت نضطر على استخدام الإيسم، وأيضا أحيانا لا تعمل. شكرا جزيلا لكم والتجارب كثيرة.
شكرا Mr. Sami. Thank you so much Mr. Sami, and sorry for just not having enough time, but what is my proposal? I will probably talk to our panelists and discuss with them how we can gather all the information that you provided, and maybe some information that you can provide for making maybe some investigations in the future. So I think we won't stop now. For now, we will just make a small pause for the seminar itself. And I'm also very pleased to give a microphone to our next speaker and correspondent from the field. It's Mr. Fouad Jarrada. And Mr. فؤاد ممكن تتحدث بالعربي أو بالإنجليزي كما أنت تفضل. طبعا بالعربي لو أنت تحب ما في مشكلة. You can speak in English or in Arabic. And the main topic that we speak about today is the verification of information. And Mr. Sami gave us a lot of examples when the verification of information was the main point for getting the information and for providing it later to the audience. So if there is some information or some ideas that you can add to the point, we would be very thankful for it.
أهلا وسهلا بكم، وشكرا لأونا على إتاحتنا لهذا المجال، وتحياتي للسيد الوزير أحمد عساف بالتأكيد. في قطاع غزة بالتأكيد يعني هو إذا أردت أن تكون صحفيا في أي مكان في العالم فهذا أنك تكون اخترت مهنة المتاعب طوعا، ولكن في قطاع غزة وفلسطين عموما هذا يعني أنك وضعت نفسك في بؤرة الاستهداف. ولكن عندما نتحدث عن المصاعب هي ليست فقط الاستهدافات. في هذه الحرب حالنا حال كل من هو موجود في قطاع غزة، كل المواطنين في قطاع غزة. أنا على سبيل المثال نازح من المكان الذي أنا كنت أسكن فيه. أنا لدي شقتين، الشقتين تم تدميرهم بالكامل، إحداها في الشمال والأخرى في مدينة غزة في تل هوى تحديدا. نزحت إلى الوسطى. الآن أنا أعاني النزوح بكل ما تحمل الكلمة من معنى، وإن كنت نازح داخل منزل وليس في خيمة، ولكن تبقى حياة النزوح مختلفة. هذا بالتأكيد يعكس أثار سلبية على الصحفي هنا في قطاع غزة، فبالتالي لا يستطيع أن يعمل بكل طاقته وأن يعمل بكل جد واجتهاد، سيما وأن هناك ساعات من الصباح الأولى بالتأكيد هي هناك هذه الساعات، هناك ساعات من أجل رحلة البحث عن الطعام، المياه، الغذاء، وحتى شحن بعض الأدوات مثل الجوالات والبطاريات وما إلى غير ذلك. أيضا الصحفي هو بالمقام الأول هو أيضا رب أسرة وصاحب بيت، فبالتالي هو يحتاج لأن يوفر كل هذه الاحتياجات لأسرته قبل أن يذهب إلى عمله. هو بحاجة إلى أن يكون كل شيء في هذه المعركة، وفي نفس الوقت يجب أن ينسلخ عن ذاته وأن ينسلخ عن مضمون حياته، وأن يحاول إيصال الصورة وعكس الواقع في قطاع غزة. إسرائيل قبل ذلك حاولت يعني فاشلة بأن تحجب الصورة خلف غبار المعركة، وعندما منيت بالفشل أكثر من مرة حاولت استهداف عين الحقيقة واستهداف الصحفيين، وكان لنا باع طويل في هذه المسيرة. ولكن الصحفيين في كل مرة كانوا يعني يدفنون زملائهم ويعودون مسرعين إلى عملهم، حيث النقاط المقامة في معظم المستشفيات. والآن نتحدث عن مستشفيات قليلة في قطاع غزة، شهداء الأقصى فقط في دير البلح، بالإضافة أيضا إلى المستشفى الكويتي في رفح، وكلتا المنطقتين في الواقع هي مناطق مكتظة بالسكان. هذا أيضا يعيق عمل الصحفي بشكل كبير. حركة التنقل من المستشفى وإلى الأماكن التي تم قصفها أو الأماكن التي يجب الذهاب إليها من أجل عمل قصص إخبارية في تلك الأماكن، أيضا من الصعوبة بمكان الوصول إلى تلك الأماكن، سواء كانت بسياراتنا الخاصة التي توقفت وخرجت عن الخدمة منذ فترة، وذلك نتيجة شح الوقود، البنزين، السولار، وحتى الغاز الطبيعي. علاوة على ذلك أيضا عدم وجود السيارات الأجرة، بالإضافة إلى أن السيارات البدائية، وأقصد هنا العربات التي تجرها يعني الدواب، هي أيضا غير متوفرة بشكل كبير. الازدحام الشديد أيضا يعيق حركة هذه السيارات بشكل عام. إذن هذه هي بعض المعوقات البسيطة اليومية، ولكن هناك معوقات قد تؤثر على الرسالة بحد ذاتها من خروجها، أو يعني ظهور الرسالة من عدمه. وهناك محاولة كما قلنا للتغطية على ما يجري في قطاع غزة من جرائم الاحتلال الإسرائيلي. من ضمن هذه بالتأكيد انقطاع الإنترنت، وزميلي سامي تحدث باستفاضة فيما يتعلق بهذا الموضوع. في الواقع هذه مسألة مهمة جدا، وتؤرق كل صحفي يعمل في مجال الإعلام، خاصة بعض الوسائل التي تعتبر هي وسائل تلفزة، هي بحاجة إلى رفع يعني مواد. هذه المواد قد تكون كبيرة في حجمها، فبالتالي تحتاج إلى حتى سرعة إنترنت عالية من أجل الوصول، ولكن نحاول قدر الإمكان يعني أن نستغل ما بأيدينا من بدائل، وإن كانت هذه البدائل قد تكون أعلى تكلفة وقد تكون أيضا أقل جدوى، ولكن بكل الأحوال تبقى بديل. ويعني من الأفضل أن تخرج الصورة
I think we have a problem, technical problem, but anyway, we thank Mr. Sami and Mr. Fouad for being connected with us from such difficult conditions of work. They managed to be with us, but I think we will come now to our main topic, keeping in our hearts and in our minds what we've heard from them, because it's quite important just to have a direct connection with the field of the events that we are talking about. And let me now come to our training session, to our masterclass. And let me first announce the name of this training session. It's Challenges in Verification and News Gathering in a War Zone and Palestine as a Case Study. I'm really thankful to our really special panelists who are going to speak today. And let me introduce those amazing and really very professional people. First of all is Marie Secalario. Marie is the head of the intake desk as well as the verification team at Vyri since the launch of this agency in 2023. She first worked as an intake editor and then as a senior editor for in other news agencies for 8 years. And during this time, she participated in the development of the verification unit in some particular agencies. And she was providing top coverage of major world events. And actually, she started her career in 2012 on radio as a morning news editor and anchor. And initially, she specialized in literature, where she's obtained the bachelor degrees and a master in journalism. And she studied in Paris and Dublin. And I wanted to introduce our second senior verification editor and speaker today. It's Zois Bekios-Zanikos, a verification journalist for the news agency Vyri. Actually, he's using open source intelligence tools, and for this, he corroborates audiovisual content covering critical world events from across the globe with a focus on war zones, Latin American, MENA, and Asia region. He has a bachelor's degree in epistemology, so we have a philosopher, the person of a wide mind with us, and as we can see from, and we will see from his participation in the master class, that he has a very special love to the science communication. And that's why he is working in the editorial position in different agencies and news companies. And now I think he is much more professional in the news production and verification as well. So I'm very happy to give the panel to our speakers. And finally, we have our presentation on. Please, I think, Marie, you will start.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and I wanted to thank everyone who has introduced this panel discussion. It was quite interesting and quite eye-opening to have all these speeches. So as Anna, thank you Anna for introducing us as well, said, we will talk today about the challenges in verification and news gathering in a war zone with a special focus on Palestine. Since it has been the latest war zone we have been covering that widely. But before we dive into the actual challenges, I would like to give you an overview of our coverage at Viary and how big we have been covering the events in Palestine. So first of all,
if you just allow me, I gave you the word just to start the presentation, but I've forgotten just to ask our colleagues who are watching us to send their questions. If they will have any questions, they can send them in our chat in Zoom, or they can prepare their question and ask them orally after the presentation finishes. We will have 15 minutes, special minutes, for the question and answer session. And sorry, Marie, for interrupting you.
No problem. Okay, so let's get back to various coverage of the war in Gaza. So as you know, as journalists, one of our main constraints is time. We have to be the fastest. And this is true when we are broadcasters, but it is even more truer when we are a news agency, since we are the one providing the raw footage for the broadcasters when they are outside of the actual zone. In our case, on October 17th, less than an hour after the news surfaced that there was an attack outside of the Gaza Strip, our newsroom had already initiated contact with our main collaborators in Gaza, in the West Bank, and in Israel as well. We are lucky to have a lot of stringers. We have a wide network of stringers in the area because of our focus on the MENA region. So we were able, within 2 hours, to start receiving the first packages and put them out on the website, as well as going live from Gaza. As an overview, that means that in the 5 months of the war, we have put out more than 1,900 packages from the conflict zone, but also 200 packages, more than 200 packages from protests in solidarity with Palestine, or sometimes in solidarity with Israel as well, from all around the world. And we have been able to live stream from different locations 350 hours. I would like now to show you a video that will more or less just sum up the coverage that we have had during those 5 months, and then we will go a bit deeper into our coverage. Okay, thank you for watching with us. I will now let Zoe start with our next.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank everyone for their insights, especially our colleagues on the field, because it is a very rare chance to actually speak to them directly in such an immediate manner. And yes, what I want to say from my end to begin is that we were one of the first news agencies that we published a drone package after the Al Ali hospital explosion, which claimed tragically the lives of more than 200 people, according to some estimates. And here the important thing to remember is that forensics analysis sometimes happens after the wars, and it remains extremely difficult. So us as journalists, and especially those on the field, need to remember that we must not just point our cameras to the right direction, we also need to ensure that the content is correctly marked and analyzed so that people in the future can also discover the truth and what actually happened. We move on. Okay. And this means that it's also important not to just film one, but several packages in such events. So in this example, we not just cover the hospital itself, but also the destruction caused around it from the same explosion, just to understand the gravity of the situation. Here, for example, we were one of the first agencies that published a package from inside a Christian church that was near the hospital that got severely damaged.
And for us, it is important to add that it is not only a matter of quantity of packages or even of the quality of packages. A war is not only about the front line, it's not only about aftermath, it's not only about destruction, it's also about people. So we have been producing a lot of exclusive content that is delving and encapsulating various humanitarian aspects of the tragedy faced by the people in Gaza. Of course, this includes displacement, this includes power and water and food shortages. This includes all of the possible humanitarian aspects that go with being in a war zone.
So yeah, here are some other examples of our exclusive coverage. And yeah, what you will quickly realize is that we're not just focusing on the war itself, but the human experience of it especially. So we're talking about human lives here. We're talking about gruesome realities, hopes, broken dreams. So both soft and hard stories need to come together in order to show the full extent of the war and everything that's happening, not just on the Palestinian side, but also on the Israeli side as well. So you will see that our coverage is not just focusing on the hard events, but also the human aspect of the war. And these are some more examples. We're covering everything from people being injured to families and the difficulties that they're facing, to the food shortages. We're trying to cover the whole extent of the challenges that people are having living in those conditions and in one of the biggest tragedies that have marked our era at this point.
Okay, so now that we have introduced you with the coverage that we have at Vayuri, let's actually talk about the challenges in doing journalistic work amidst war conditions. First of all, and I guess one of the biggest part of it is making sure that we keep our crews safe. This is not always possible. Our crews are made of locals. They are, of course, faced with the same difficulties as the rest of the population, as our two speakers before this panel have talked about. They are being displaced. Their families are being displaced. They are facing food and water shortages. They don't necessarily have power to charge their batteries, their cameras. They don't have internet to send their packages. And they're also facing the loss of their loved ones. Here you have a picture of one of our cameramen who has sustained injuries while he was covering the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis. That was in November last year. Very fortunately, he has recovered from his injuries and he's back on the field for us. But for example, our main collaborator has lost several family members. And I want here to also point out the sort of heroic side of those people, because they have kept covering the events in Gaza despite their losses. There is a very firm intention to keep documenting what's happening there. And also, although our case here is not as public as certain cases in other agencies or other broadcasts have been, as you know, there is the bureau chief of Al Jazeera. This case has gone pretty viral, mostly on social media. I'm talking about Wael al-Dahda. Sorry for my pronunciation if that's not totally correct. But yeah, he has made most of the main news with, unfortunately, losing some members of his family, including his wife, his son, his daughter. And all that to say that Gaza is becoming a very historical fact when it comes to the loss of journalists and their families. At this date, 88 journalists, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, have died in Gaza doing their job. This is more than one every 2 days in the 5 months of war. I think this is quite a striking number, and it shows that it is the deadliest conflict that has ever happened when it comes to journalism, media professional deaths. And this will unfortunately be one of the numbers that will stay in history in the future. Of course, as I said, the second main issue that we are facing when it comes to news gathering is the power in internet outages, right? We have been having issues with live broadcasts because obviously live broadcasts do require to have internet. This has happened, for example, in northern Gaza after the ground offensive from Israel. Materials experience delays in uploading, so sometimes we are a bit late. As Anna said in the beginning, it's sometimes better late than never. But of course, sometimes we are really trying to get some things and it's not possible. Or sometimes we have had to compromise on the video quality of our coverage because, again, filming with a camera does imply a larger size for a file to be sent. So sometimes just to be able to send something quickly, we have resorted to have our cameramen and photographers send via their phones. So yes, the example north of Gaza, again, has been one of the areas where we have faced most problems due to internet cuts. So now we're going to dive into footage validation, and I'm going to, again, let Zoe speak and start.
Okay. So let's talk about the verification process and footage validation itself. So from an agency standpoint, footage validation and verification is a little different from what our colleagues need to do on the field. So the verification process as it works in agencies is a mitigation to the threats that we are exposed to. That come naturally from the circumstances of covering wars and difficult locations in general. So we just not need to verify the informational validity of our footage, which also relies a lot on the work that our colleagues do on the ground. But we also have to ensure that it represents reality in such a way that it does not fool the audiences. And we also need to avoid any copyright infringements and all the copyright that come with that, because we do not have, we sometimes need to adapt to the situation and film with people that are not used to our standards. We're exposed to a very big threat of people stealing content from other people, not understanding the assignments correctly, and sometimes sending us the wrong materials. The verification process needs to be able to detangle all that and make sure that everything is ready for publication. So in short, the verification team basically makes sure that our clients get a worry-free product so that our editors can focus on what really matters, which is covering the stories as quickly and reliably as possible. So we have a few tricks to do that. To begin with, we require our sources to send us a selfie, which can be matched one-to-one with the footage that they're sending us. But we also understand that this is not always possible. We're talking about a war zone here, and sometimes when bombs are falling over your head, you cannot just ask someone, hey, can you please take a selfie? It can't happen. So in this case, we have developed some alternative techniques, and the most important of them, one of them is to actually what's the metadata of the video. What are metadata? For those that are not aware, metadata is information that gets attached to videos while they're being filmed from a device. And from those, we can see things like the creation date of a file, when it was edited, and the camera equipment that was used. Sometimes we even get the location, depending on the devices that were used. So with this, we can sort of like get an understanding of how a package was filmed, how it was crafted and brought together, and figure out how we can corroborate a lot of information about it. So let's take a specific case. So here we had our cameraman on the field, and unfortunately the destruction that happened was so extensive that it was very difficult to make sure that the selfie that he submitted to us was from the same location and the same place as he was filming, because he did a lot of close-ups. There's a lot of rubble, as you can see behind. The angles are weird. There's not a lot of recognizable things in his selfie that can tell us that he was there filming for us and that everything is okay. So what we did in this case, we could avoid going through the process of having him upload additional materials and stuff like that by detecting him on secondary sources. So another news agency was able to happen to capture him while he was filming. And in our research, we were able to find that relatively quickly. So if you can see at the picture, we could match his shirt and his vest and his camera strap to his selfie and make sure that it was our guy, he was there, he was filming, everything's fine, everything's correct, and we have nothing to worry about. We can proceed with the process.
So now let's talk about the second part of the verification process, and one of the most crucial parts. We ask of our collaborators to send us a geolocation link. So that can be a live location, or it can be a Google pin, or even sometimes it can be a screenshot of their location. But we need very much for the footage to be actually geolocated. This is one of the most crucial parts of the verification. But here again, when you are in a war zone and you are running from one place to another, or different things are happening, it's not always possible to send this information. So what will we do? Once again, the first part will be to check the metadata. I will let you watch the picture on the bottom left of the screen and give you maybe 10-20 seconds to try to catch where the location is actually written. If you have it, you can give a hand or something so that I know that you have found it. I'm hearing people. Okay. I see some things happening. Good. Okay, so I'm not going to wait much longer. The answer is on the last line. I mean, you have different parts of the GPS location here, but the last one actually gives you more or less all the coordinates you need. And if you look on the bottom right picture, you will see on the top of it the same coordinates. So what it gives us is this satellite image here. And I will just let you watch inside this little pink square that we have here. We have a very distinctive set of trees that we were then able to match to our footage here, where we see the same set of trees. This is one this is a detail, right? But this also allows us to then match the buildings that are around, or even if you see there's the coastline that is quite easily recognizable from both images. So this is how we would try to geolocate some footage that we don't have a link for. What about when a building doesn't exist anymore? This is, of course, one of the cases that happen when there are that many airstrikes, is that sometimes the satellite images that we will find just are not corresponding to what we see on the footage. This is the case with the Al-Amin Mohammed Mosque in Khan Yunis, for example. Sorry, as you see, there was massive destruction there. So you see like an arrow and a circle of one of the buildings that we were able to match. So how does that work when we don't have that building? The destruction there, again, was so severe that we could not corroborate with the traditional means. So what we do is we will have to look for landmarks or anything around that building that we are actually able to match. So we can approximate the location of the old building or detect some features that are visible from the satellite images. For example, in our footage, we can see that there is supporting construction for what was the solar panels visible from the satellite.
So another challenge, and especially big challenge, is actually nighttime footage and bombardments. We get a lot of footage that's actually shot at nighttime, and illumination flares, bombardments, and in general, this poses a very big challenge for us, because we can only verify what we see. We can't verify what we can't see. So if we cannot see any landmarks or any clues to get the accurate location, then this is a problem, because someone may submit something that is from a completely different location, from a different time, and this would not constitute as actual a news gathering. You know, it's considered fake news at this point. So how do we go about verifying this content? What we need to keep in mind here is that what we see in the footage is not what the camera records. So the camera records a lot more information than what we actually see in the final footage. So with some careful editing, in some cases, not in all of the cases, in some cases, we can get evidence of that are hidden inside the footage, and details that are hidden inside the footage that are recorded but are not visible. And we do this by, in this case, for example, there was a selling in Khan Yunis again at the 17th of December. And we were able to digitally enhance the footage in order to bring it to a point where we can see a few things so that we are able to geolocate. So let's move to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So here, even from a very dark image, you can see how much evidence we can collect by some simple adjustments. I basically adjusted the gamma and the gain in the footage, and I was suddenly able to see building features. I was able to see other buildings around it, and I also had the direction, because if you look very closely, I know about the time that the footage was filmed. It was very early in the morning, and I can see the sunrise. So I automatically have a direction where I can focus my attention to turn all of my tools into focusing on that. So I have a general location. I have the point where the camera is facing. So then all I have to do is find the specific building and corroborate that it's actually there. And yes, if you take a very close look to the materials, you will see that the shapes in the building match. The position of the sunrise is correct. And we were also able to match some background buildings and able to verify footage that at first glance would seem impossible to verify.
Okay, talking about sometimes footage that is impossible to verify, we will talk about archive and pool footage. So what is pool footage? Pool footage is footage that is provided by officials, and governmental bureaus, let's say. Why we are specifically verifying, I mean, we are verifying all the footage that comes for a war zone. This is an absolute, so that goes for the pool sources as well. But we will be, of course, even more careful when it comes to pool footage for several reasons. One being that, of course, warring sides might put a narrative forward and version of events that we need to be carefully checking. And mostly also because for the sake of beauty or for the sake of intensity in those images that are provided, we have encountered many cases where archive footage is in the pool footage. So archive footage means just footage that is dated from one day, but is actually from another day, so from before. Although this will not directly just discard the footage, we do believe that this has to be verified. We have also to verify the location of that footage to make sure that if there is archive, where it is from and from what event it is, and be able to provide all the information for the people who will eventually use that footage. And then some narratives can eventually be debunked, so entirely discarded, or also confirmed. Sometimes we will see one case in a few minutes where we actually were able to confirm a theory that was at first not sure. So what happens first when the evidence is not fully conclusive? Because sometimes verification investigations can take a lot of time. Geolocation can take a lot of time, and we do not have that time in hand to be able to have a fully conclusive report. I am talking about the case of the Al-Ahli hospital here again. If you do remember when the strike happened, it was in the first few minutes, it was said that Israel had striked the hospital, and then very quickly then the Israeli officials have said that it was actually a rocket from Hamas that had misfired and hit the hospital. So what do we do here? Because in the course of receiving the first package and putting it out, we will of course verify that it is the right location, that the source is correct, that we have the right information, but we will not necessarily be able to verify who has hit that hospital in, again, that time frame. So what is important to say here, I'm showing just this picture here because we also, in this case, went very quickly in other spheres, and we had Biden, for example, saying that it was indeed a Hamas rocket, despite the lack of evidence at that point. What we will do is make sure that all numbers and statements are in our scripts. So this is our way to be able to make sure that our footage is accurate and that our descriptions are accurate. So that means in this case, we would say this is likely an Israeli airstrikes, but Israel is saying that they didn't do it. The last thing that I would say about this footage, this kind of footage, is sometimes the footage has to be entirely discarded. I think all of you have already watched some IDF footage that is put out of some certain strikes. If you have seen it, you will see that is usually in black and white, very pixelated, with like one little cross there, like, you know, a target, and then we see a strike, but we don't really see anything there. Again, unless there is something unusual happening, this is the kind of footage that is not verifiable. We cannot geolocate it. We cannot make sure that it is from the right place or at the right time. Therefore, we will avoid putting it out. The second part that I wanted to talk about is about the ethics of who we interview in a war zone and who we don't interview in a war zone. The first one will be the prisoners of war. Prisoners of war are for us absolute red line. We do not, under any circumstances, allow footage where prisoners of war are speaking while being in captivity. Because very, very simply, we cannot make sure that they are not being coerced at the moment of speaking by their captors, or that they are not being asked to say such things. For example, I remember one specific case of a young lady. She was a hostage of Hamas, and Hamas put out this video of her lying on the bed She had like a broken arm and she was being treated by what seemed to be a doctor. And at the end of that footage, she was just recounting how well she was being treated while in captivity. And although we have not discarded the entirety of the video because we have used basically just the part she was lying on the bed as a proof of life kind of footage, we did decide to discard all the rest of the footage. First of all, because we cannot verify that the person seemingly treating her is a doctor and is actually treating her for her injuries. And of course, the part where she's actually speaking, we cannot make sure that this is actually true. This can be different for prisoners of war after they were released, of course. The second part will be third-party accounts. So what is a third-party account? This is basically hearsay. This is my cousin who was living in that building. So soldiers arriving and they shot at everyone, children included. That doesn't mean it's not true. That just means it is hearsay. This person is not an eyewitness to the situation. We don't know to which extent he's modifying the version of the cousin or the neighbor or the family member in general that he's giving us. Therefore, it's unverifiable, and therefore we will not use third-party accounts. And the last thing, and I know it's a bit hard to hear because a lot of us are journalists here, and we don't like to be told that we can be unreliable, but unfortunately, journalists can be sometimes unreliable. And as an agency, we do think that we avoid like big interviews of journalists, insider coverage, because we don't know necessarily, or we don't always know their involvement in the coverage and the possible conflicts of interest that they might have. And also because they have a deeper knowledge of the situations, it makes it harder to spot any alterations to the information. It has happened, for example, we received from one of our stringers an interview from a journalist who was making very, very wide claims. And because he's a journalist, if we had put that out on the account that he's a journalist and therefore an expert, we would have put out very unverifiable information. So we just decided not to. I will just now let Zoe present one very specific case where we were actually able to confirm a theory and a narrative.
Okay, so returning to the port of Gaza, the geolocation that you saw earlier was actually from this case. It was selling with alleged phosphorus at the 11th. And at around noon, we started getting footage of thick white smoke coming from the port of Gaza. So this immediately sends alarm bells to any verification expert because there are infamous cases of phosphorus selling that are very disputed online. So it is always a very difficult case to corroborate. And in this case, it seems very obvious. You know, you have very thick white smoke. You have the pellets falling down, the burning pellets that generate the smoke. And in some cases, Israel has been very careful about its wording around those, but we all know that there's no way that they're going to accept any kind of interpretation about the actual use of phosphorus. But we're not chemists, so we're not able to fully corroborate whether actual phosphorus was used or not. But if it smells like phosphorus and if it looks like phosphorus, you know, it probably is phosphorus. The problem is actually proving it in an actual way that is enough to protect the agency and our clients in case someone tries to debunk it. So in this case, it was very easy to try to get it out because our cameraman was able to film the entirety of the shelling. So in this still image, we have the thick white smoke, we have the explosion itself happening, and the spread of the pellets that are falling down. And we were actually able to determine the nature of the munitions. It is probably an American made munition that's made for artillery. That has a specific number of pellets. We were counting them. We're doing you can see here some angle calculations that I did on this footage. And depending on the height and of the explosion and the speed that they're falling, so you're counting frames and calculating the time that it takes for a pellet to fall down, we were able to determine that this is most probably phosphorus and it should go on the website. So here the challenges are multi-level. It's not just in the information itself, but also that the speed that it has to happen. Because usually you may see, some trends nowadays where there are people that are like having a photograph, finding the location of some old relatives just from a single photograph and stuff like that. But what we need to understand is that these people have entire teams behind them working days on end in order to find locations, information, do forensic analysis, and reach a conclusion. We have to do it within 30 minutes in order to be on time for publication. And this means that we have to be very aware of the problems that arise. In this specific case, for example, the reason that we were able to verify this so quickly is because from our past experiences from war zones, I have developed an understanding of how munitions work, of how military equipment gets deployed, and where it makes sense and doesn't make sense for it to be deployed. So this background information and this background experience that a verification journalist may have helps corroborate everything much quicker in such a way that it can get published within 30 to 40 minutes. And after our publication, there were other publications that also corroborated the same events and made claims that are similar to ours. And we will see in the future how these specific cases go in international courts. But here are some of our external sources that we sourced as quickly as possible in order to corroborate the footage. You can check them out yourself. Anyone who has done some research in white phosphorus will have probably stumbled upon those sources. These are the artillery cells that were used. And yeah, the port of Gaza is a very interesting case in that regard.
So then we have the challenge of course, the use of user-generated content, so social media video, and what we call now citizen journalism. Citizen journalism has been very, very effective when it comes to the Gaza war. I'm sure you know already, like how many of them have daily reported on the facts of the ground, and some of them have become quite famous in their time doing this on social media. So I'm going to be fully honest here as an agency, and because again we are very lucky to have a wide network of actual professionals working for us in the Gaza Strip. We have very little UGC on our website, and we have not resorted to using social media videos very much because we were able to get our coverage from other sources. Now, if you do have to, there is a consideration that needs to be taken in the fact that there are heightened emotions for sure when it comes to war, mostly a war on that scale. And also that the people who are posting on social media are not bound by the same ethics rules as journalists. So verification processes there are even more important and will be even more thorough. First and foremost, of course, duplicates and archive checks. And this will be mostly done by a keyword search on social media or a reverse image search, as you know, if you have done some other masterclasses with us. For example, sorry, this video here came at the beginning of the war, and it was supposedly showing roofs on fire in Gaza. It went very, very, very viral in the first few minutes of it being put online on TikTok. But the thing is, from the very beginning, there was a doubt, because when we saw this, we were like, okay, we need our stringer to film, but our stringer was saying, actually, tonight it's rather calm. Nothing is really happening. So that takes our curiosity, of course. And then if you watch the video a bit more carefully, here it's not playing, but when we watched it, we could see fireworks. This, of course, doesn't really match the storyline of fires because of bombardments in Gaza. And then another very quick search on TikTok showed that the video was posted, the same video was posted before October 7th, so before the start of the war. That is a very clear sign that the video is not what we actually think it is, or how it is described, what it is described to be. So that would already discard completely the video for us, and we would just not even try to speak to the people who have uploaded it or find the original source, because we know that the date doesn't match. And then looking deeper into it, out of interest, let's say, we found out that the video was actually of a football celebration in Algeria in July. So it had nothing to do with Gaza. This sort of cases happen a lot more than we think they do. Again, this is just fair warning of being very careful of what is posted on social media. Mostly when we are working for a website, or we are working for a broadcast who have a tendency to just reshare something that we see, the verification process here is of the utmost importance. Oh, the video is playing. Okay. So now, as you know, the war isn't going. It doesn't seem to be anywhere near over. So we are going to present to you as a conclusion what are our plans for coverage, but also mostly for the future of verification. So it's your turn.
So the war is, of course, as Marie said, ongoing, and VIRI is committed into improving our practices to make sure that everything is smoother and works out better. So we have a commitment to consistency and accuracy, of course. And our solutions include the development of new tools and optimization of existing ones based on our active research and development that we're doing, especially on open source platforms. Our team is almost exclusively working with open source solutions that are available to everyone. And in continuation of that, after we develop those solutions internally and we figure out how we can make them work for us, we can then educate third parties on verification practices in order to increase the quality of information that is being broadcasted in general. So there are some very specific challenges that we have in that department. Here we see a video from OpenAI. This is a new text-to-speech, a text-to-video generator, AI generator called Sora, which is going to be available sometime in the future, and they just happen to publish a few previews. And it has some very amazing video creation skills. So this is all AI generated footage that you just saw. And what's striking about it is that it very closely resembles B-roll footage. So we may come across situations where someone is taking real life footage and injecting very easily and very cheaply and very quickly fake information inside of it. And we may also have situations where entire scenes are completely made up. A trained eye, thankfully, can still detect those alterations. But this is the progress that was made within a year since we first saw the first iterations of text-to-video AIs. So this is very alarming because it removes credibility from all video sources. And if we get deeper into like the history of science discussion, it is a shift in how journalism may be conducted in the future. So trust becomes even more important. Trust will be the absolute factor when it comes to having footage in your informational bubble. So we're trying to develop some other tools to mitigate all of those upcoming risks. So one of the tools that we are now internally testing and we are figuring out how we can fit in our workflows, that was not possible even like 3 months ago. This was not possible. Was actually using an online application called GeoSpy AI, which has the ability to find locations from simple images. So in this example, what you can see is that you have a French word in the image, Corps Suprême, in French, and some soldiers in front, some buildings, some trees, things like that. A trained geolocator may need maybe 10, 15 minutes in order to find this. This AI was able to at least find the city within seconds. So a trained geolocator or a good editor that has a general awareness of a location in combination with this AI can streamline the process extremely quickly. So here the AI was actually able to read the text, recognize the flora, so the trees behind and the buildings, and actually see the patches, even though it misrecognizes them in the text. If you read carefully, it still has some errors. It misrecognizes them as actual flags, waving flags, while they are simple police badges. But with that evidence, it was able to figure out what it is. And the accuracy is a little off, like it's not to the meter accuracy, it's citywide accuracy. But me as a verification editor, with that information, I can find the location extremely quickly, even if I get no other contextual information. So even if communicating other information is impossible from our sources, we still have a redundancy there where we can fall back and find the location really quickly. Maybe a shooting is happening and we don't have any information about it, just a video popping up on the internet. We feed an image to that AI, it tells us a general location, we use all of the other evidence that we have, and we get the location quickly, we send someone. Everything becomes a lot easier with new tools that are open source, that are being developed, and it's definitely a very active field where it's constantly progressing, and it sort of like hints to a slow paradigm shift in the industry and how actual news broadcasting is happening. Some of the challenges that we're facing is that all of those tools are very decentralized. I have to know about them. I have to do constant research every day, find new tools, test them properly, make sure that everything's functioning. And this means that everything is all over the place, you know, like you have a different service for maps, for satellite imagery. You have 3 different services for searching. We have Google, we have Baidu for China, we have Yandex for CIS regions. So everything is very decentralized. And in order for someone to start doing this process effectively, they need to have a very good understanding of the technical side of how the internet works, how computers work, and be very tech literate in general. My background is in tech journalism, so I had a natural advantage in all of those platforms. So what we're trying to do at this point is bring this experience requirement lower, so that pretty much everyone with the proper analytical skills can do verification. So we are currently developing a centralized working environment which incorporates all of our open source tools and all of our in-house developed tools into one platform where someone can have everything there and just focus on the content and verifying the content, and not just figuring out, oh, how can I install this metadata extractor in my computer? It doesn't work. Why doesn't it? You know, there's a lot of friction there that makes our work very difficult. So we're planning for a consistent UI that has everything presentable and easy to access, which reduces the technical expertise required to solve cases, so that more people, more journalists can actually do this process themselves and make sure that the content that they're receiving is correct, and that they don't reproduce fake news and duplicates on the website, that they don't have AI videos all over the place. And it smooths out the overall workflow because we get complete data entries. So from the moment of submission to the moment that the package is going out, we have a consistent filing system that tracks all of the evidence. So if I need to access the images, for example, that someone submitted, I can look at them very quickly. If someone leaves me a note about some important development, or maybe a database on white phosphorus munitions, for example, I can access it very quickly and very easily. I don't have to keep everything in my mind in order to do this sort of work. And we can then share it very easily with other journalists when the solution is actually ready.
Yes, and we plan also for this product to be implemented inside the newsroom, of course, as a first environment, but we do believe that verification is very much the future of news. So probably in the future, this product will also be part of our masterclasses and teaching products for other newsrooms. I think that we are done now with the actual presentation. I'd be very happy to take a couple of questions, as always, depending on what it is you have to ask. Just let me know. We'd like to start. Maybe Anna, you have a couple of questions already written.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, perfect. You know, first of all, I want to thank you so much for the presentation. It was really, really great and quite important, even for me, even it's not my first time when I'm listening to you. It's really important just to look at those facts, how they are really getting, I would say, looks through the microscope, I would say, if we speak about science. You are working as real scientists. But I have a very quick, maybe I would say, a little bit difficult question first, which was asked. And I wanted at the beginning just say this question probably is not about the topic of your presentation, but at the same time, it actually is. Why? Because I think you were also asking yourself this question, and especially those people who work in the field and those people who are struggling in the field of war were asking you this question. And I know it's a little bit maybe a subjective question, but I think how would you answer it? So it's Maimouna Musa Abdel Karim asking a question. I'm sorry, no, Maimouna is asking another question, but we have the question that I just announced. It's a question from Emirates, and since I have so many devices at the same time, let me open this one. The tricky one is, I would not say tricky, but difficult one. My name is Amal from the United Arab Emirates. We have seen many of pictures and videos and read many of news, and the whole world know the truth about the genocide of the people of Palestine. But my question is, what is the benefit of all this if we cannot change anything? Yeah, this is, you know, the question, but I think you as a professional, I think you do have an answer. So I know it's not so easy maybe to answer, but probably if you ask yourself about it, so how do you answer it usually?
Well, I think there's a very different answer if we talk as journalists or if we talk as humans, right? The fact is that as journalists and mostly as verification people, we do have to take out some of the human side of things. So if you ask me as a human, it is also hard to see these things happening in front of your eyes and say, okay, I don't really I'm not sure that what I do has an impact, but also it does, because what we do is documenting everything. We document the war, we document it every day. We document the atrocities that are happening there. We document how people are dying from hunger, like we were saying in the beginning. And these things will come out at some point. So it will have an impact. We would like the impact to be right now, but I do not feel like we're not making an impact at all. I think it will come at some point. And this is our job, to keep as objective as possible and as accurate as possible, because then the accuracy will also help us show the proof of what is happening later, saying we know this is how it happened. This is not a subjective point of view. This is not just like a human reacting on emotions. This is an actual journalism work. I think it will have an impact. It is just hard, I agree, to have it been that delayed, let's say.
Can I add to that, Marie?
Yeah,
shortly? To me, the first thing that I thought when I saw your question, it's a very good question, I think, and especially as the philosopher here, I have something to add. The first thing that came to mind is a small quotation from a song that says that redemption lies plainly in truth. So there's an element in truthfulness that helps us heal. It helps us overcome, and it helps us actually go over the tragedies that are happening. It helps us cope with the daily life. So if we do our job correctly now, and this is what helps me go through, watching all of this horrible footage every day and making sure that everything's correct in it, is that it's a work that I'm doing not just for me, but also for future people that are going to analyze this content, that are going to try to figure out what actually happened there, So this is the point. Maybe we cannot stop the conflict now. Maybe we cannot change public opinion. But future people, I hope, will have a better understanding of what happened, and they will try to avoid such awful massacres in the future. So yeah, this is the point of this. I think this is the point of verification.
You take the next question.
Yeah, thank you so much, dear colleagues. And the next question is from the person I have already announced before, Maimouna Musa Abdel Karim. So the question is in Arabic, but I just very quickly translated it. As a correspondent for a news agency, how can I report war news with credibility and without bias towards a particular site? It's also quite a wide question, but maybe some general tips that you can give that would be very helpful.
Actually, this is an easier thing done when we are a news agency, because we do stand-ups. Our reporters are not speaking on camera, so we do not necessarily ask of them that they don't have a political opinion on what's happening. Also because, as we said, they are locals, and we know it might happen, but what we verified, raw footage. So they are pointing the camera at what is happening, and we are verifying what is happening. So the chances of this happening are actually very low, I suppose.
We have also some colleagues who are going to ask questions orally. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Rana Azim with us. Are you أنت معنا, Mr. Rana Azimi? Because he wanted to ask question, and if he is online, can we give him the right to ask questions by microphone? Okay, when we are waiting for Mr. Rana Azimi to be with us, I think we also have Mr. Tariq Abdel Ghaffar, who wanted to ask a question. Is that correct?
Yes,
Mr. Rana Azim, اتفضل, please. So you have a microphone to ask a question, please.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank the organization that have arranged this wonderful event, because it's very, very urgently need. Because, you know, in the current era, we are facing lots of problems, especially in journalistic period. So if we're talking about Gaza, then lots of problems that we are facing, not in Gaza, in all over the world. So my question is that, what do you think, because lots of journalists have been killed in Gaza, and no news come from different stations. So what would be the criteria that we have mentioned for the gathering news, and especially in front of the truth?
Okay, this is another very difficult question, because the number of deaths that have happened in Gaza are also because of the sheer scale of bombardments in such a tiny strip of land. And yeah, some very also systematic targeting. So I do believe, yeah, it's a hard question. One of the things that we do is not necessarily push for frontline footage, for example. When our journalists on the ground are saying this is too dangerous, then it's too dangerous, and we don't ask them to go despite like more life-threatening conditions, let's say, because conditions are life-threatening anyway. But yeah, that's how we go about it, basically. We would try to pull them out of situations where they are injured or killed. That's how we do. And this is also why sometimes it is also interesting to be focusing on humanitarian stories. So we might miss some frontline footage sometimes and rely on pull for those if we can get them. But on the other side, we will focus on those humanitarian stories and those human stories and all the things that are happening to the people of Gaza. I hope
one more thing that I have in my mind, which is that I will elaborate this specialist webinar to IFJ, International Federation of Journalists, that is around countries in the world. So it's very current era, raise the voice of Gaza people and also the peoples in all over the world which are suffering these kinds of problems. So it's a great, once again, I would like to thank the organization. They have arranged a wonderful webinar and a wonderful discussion that we have today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rana. It's really, really a pleasure to hear such words, because it was not easy to organize all this. And I think only our joint efforts from the UNO side and Vairi side helped to make it true. And dear colleagues, I just wanted to tell you, if you want to ask the question, you also have an option to do it by actually pressing the raising hand sign. So you can do it via this action actually. And we do some questions and comments, and mostly comments thanking you for organizing an event. And I wanted to read one of them. It's out of Davis, Anne. Verification and news gathering in conflict zones presents unique challenges due to the chaotic and dangerous nature of these environments. Your journalists often face obstacles such as the constant threat of violence. In addition, conflicting narratives and propaganda, you still manage to verify and present accurate information. Despite these challenges, you diligently verify facts and sources to ensure the credibility and accuracy of your reports, and I really want to commend you for your efforts. Thank you for your words. And we have a question from Mr. Ayman Dawood. Do all video files have metadata? And is there an online or offline tools to find out? I think, Mario Zois, who will just answer the question.
I'll let this
Yes.
one start.
Yeah, I can see a lot of very interesting actual technical questions. And I want to ask you to kindly, if you're really interested in that subject, maybe we can organize another specific masterclass for the actual technicalities. But let me answer this one very quickly. There are both offline and online tools. One of them is metadata to go. If you search it really quickly, you can find it easily. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depends on the website. And the problem with metadata is that, no, not all videos have metadata. And this is also a problem for the AI videos, because an upcoming solution from BBC and OpenAI and some big media conglomerates is to include metadata tags in AI generated videos. But this is not a good solution, because the problem with metadata is that you can edit them. So the moment that someone's aware that someone's checking the metadata, it loses all credibility. So we sort of like rely on a sort of like trust to our sources that the metadata that they provide and the videos that they provide, they have some level of consistency. We do have redundancies in place for that. And one of them is actually requesting a few of the original files that were filmed from the devices, because these have consistent and proper metadata. When a video is downloaded from the internet, it will not have metadata. When a video is sent through WhatsApp or Messenger, it will not have metadata. So these are immediately yellow and red flags that we're using in order to navigate through metadata. But metadata always provides contextual information. It should never be taken as a cut and dry solution, technical solution. We do not need to do any further analysis because we have the correct metadata. But it's an interesting topic, and I think that it's interesting enough to go deeper alongside AI into a masterclass itself.
So, dear colleagues, we have only 3 minutes left, actually. This is the problem of our time. But I think, first of all, I want to say that we have a lot of questions about artificial intelligence. Really, AI is something that interests our colleagues. They ask about particular tools that might be used. They ask about some programs that you can recommend. So I think we should organize, and we will talk to UNA to organize a special, maybe masterclass dedicated to this event. And I would ask, because I think Tariq Abdel Ghaffar, he wanted to ask a very quick question. If it's possible, we will try to answer it.
Okay, let's go.
Because he raised his hand a very long time ago. Mr. Tariq Abdel Ghaffar? All right, okay. I think then Mr. Zubair and Mr. Ashraf, just tell me whether we do still have 2-3 minutes, or we already have to finalize our event. First of all, I want to say that it was really something tremendous, and I'm very sorry about all the questions, but I would ask I would ask Mr. Ashraf and Mr. Zubair to gather these questions, and just please to see the participants' names, because if there are some questions that we maybe can answer via email or any other source, that would be very respectful to our dear audience. And I'm very sorry that we didn't manage to answer all of your questions, but I'm very thankful for all your attention, for all your involvement into the topic. And I do really ask already, and Mr. Aliyani and Mr. Ashraf and Mr. Zubair, maybe we can organize one more masterclass dedicated to the continuation of this topic, and maybe in more involvement of the artificial intellect topic into the discussion. I want to thank Marie and Zois for your great work. I want to thank Anastasia, who was really doing tremendous job to prepare all that and being just behind the scene. And I want to thank all our great audience from different countries for being so active, for being so helpful. I got also many questions, personal questions and personal comments to my WhatsApp, because many of my friends recognize me. But please, just forgive me. I cannot use this possibility, as in Arabic say wasta, this mediation. For this time, forgive me. Next time, I will try to forward your question directly to the speakers. And thank you very much for all your participation and involvement. And a special thanks from our students from the Moscow State University, international students. They were carefully listening to the seminar, and I hope that next time they will be able even to participate in it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zois, Mrs. Mary, and Mrs. Anna. Thank you for your presence, for your good course that you have given to us, to our participants, and we hope for next participant, inshallah, we'll meet each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.